All right, Penny, we're going to play a bit of Game of Wines, some storytelling. So let's paint the picture. It's pre-service. We have a fair idea of food. We've got a great idea of our menu. But instead of just focusing on product and this wine is going to go with this food, I want to practice a little bit of storytelling. Okay. So do you want to give me a wine and then I will try and share a few stories with you, but I'm not going to talk about the product. I'm only going to talk about the theme and the people and the place.
Okay.
Let me try.
I think what I saw was quite interesting on the menu today that they're doing at the main course would be the Belfield Cabernet Sauvignon. Perhaps you could tell us something about that?
Is that the De Trafford Belfield?
The De Trafford
one, yes, perfect.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll give it a bash. So, De Trafford, I think for me, from a theme perspective, he is like the humble legend of South African wine. So some winemakers are out there in your face. They're really like loud and proud, but David he's like an unsung hero or an understated hero. He kind of started off in wine as a bit of an accident. He was actually an architect. He was exploring wine because it was a passion, and he made a few barrels, and that did really, really well on platter, and then that kind of got him into this journey of being a winemaker. So yeah, I see him as like a real pioneer and a hero in that respect. And then he continued this theme of exploring, wanting to try different things in wine, became a member of the Cape Winemakers Guild, started a winery in the middle of nowhere in Malgas called Seine. So they were the first winery in this area, which was not a designated wine region at all. You farm ostriches there. It's on the Cape South Coast. Huge rocks and like very difficult conditions, but making beautiful wine. And then the story with David Trafford and Belfield is one that's kind of linked to my story. Is when my dad passed away, we were looking for what do we do in so many levels. We were lost, and the Cabernet vineyard was always his favorite, and he made his best wine, the Magnifica, but we couldn't really carry on because that was his. So we did a tasting with David, and we tasted Bordeaux versus Stellenbosch, and snuck in a Belfield, and it really shone. It's because it's cooler climates and quite elegant, like some of the Bordeaux's. And he agreed to effectively be a pioneer again and try something different and create an Elgin Cabernet within his range called Belfield.
Okay.
And what I love about it, showing guests, is you look at the label. All of his labels have got an architectural drawing, which is like his architectural background.
Yes, of course.
But this one is not his cellar. This one, if you look at it, is actually our house. It's the architectural drawing of the Belfield house. So that's like an interesting little story to share with guests. Choose like one or two things out of that, and I think there's something there. Yeah.
I didn't know about the architectural.
Yeah, it's something fun.
The Belfield one, yeah.
So again, I haven't spoken about the wine there. Like I'm not talking about tannin and cooler climates and all these things. It's just talking about the people, the place, the story. And I think those are things that, depending on your guests, might be interesting to pull out. So I've got a challenge for you. Let's do Bosman Optenhorst Chenin.
Okay.
Obviously a beautiful wine, an iconic wine, but tell me the story behind the wine. I don't want to hear about pH. I don't want to hear about alcohol. I don't want to hear about flavor. I want to hear about the story.
Well, it becomes a little bit tougher. I just want to go in and describe the wine, but then, all well and good. So.
And remember, our storytelling is theme, people, place. So you can include all of that or just one or two. Yeah.
All right. So with the Bosman Optenhorst, something that I find quite interesting, or that we know about it, it comes from one of the oldest Chenin Blanc vineyards. So as we know in South Africa, Chenin Blanc is one of our heritage grape varieties. So when you find these little pockets of vineyards, it's always interesting to make a wine out of it. But the farm itself, Bosman, has been around for 8 generations.
Wow.
So it's tying into the whole thing of history
Mm.
and heritage. You've got this old family that's farming in Wellington with this old vine. So I always find that connection quite interesting between the wine. But what Bosman is also known for, that perhaps not many people do, is they run a nursery where I think 1 out of every 3 wines in South Africa, the sticks or the stockies, as they say here in Afrikaans, actually come from the farm. So,
Wow.
they'll propagate the vines and then in turn sell it to different winemakers. So that's one thing I also find quite interesting about the family itself. They do have a range of wines apart from the Optinos that you're talking about called Generation 8, but that's just also to reiterate into that whole heritage and family history that they have. And when you go to the farm itself, the people that work on the farm are also part of the family, and that's like how they like to go about with their philosophy.
Yeah.
And so Bosman itself, with the Optenhorst, it comes from a region called Wellington, so a very hot region. During the growing time, quite dry and hot. Usually they just do unirrigated farming on that side, but they also have another farm that's out in the Himmeln Ader. So basically, as you're driving towards Hermanus, so much cooler climate. So they're trying to make wines from 2 different regions, but to show what each region has to offer in a classic way.
That's quite fun. So if you've got both on a list, you can do a story of terroir, of regions, with one winery.
Exactly.
You could do like start off with something light and fresh from the Himmeln. I think they've got Chardonnay, Pinot.
Yeah, and also they've also got a Sauvignon Blanc.
That's
if I'm
right.
not mistaken.
Perfect. And then moving on to something a little bit more
full
robust body,
and fruit forward actually. So if you come to the warmer side on the Wellington, is it Wellington? Or
Wellington.
It is Wellington. I always confuse the.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, cool. Yeah, and the other thing I love about them is it's heritage and family owned, but often it's all about one family, and what they've done is they've invested in all the families on the farm. So the families on the farm are part of the ownership of that farm. So it's not just multi-generations of one family, but it's multiple families that have made it a success. So those families are now also part of the ownership of the farm, which I find incredible. It's collective effort.
It's very good to know when you see farms looking after their people, because if you don't have the people, the product itself is not going to be possible to make. So it sort of kind of feeds off each other. Look after your people, then
Brilliant. Okay, hit me with another
one. So would you maybe perhaps if we move to a different region?
Yeah.
Since we are talking about people, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the Optima, the Anton Rupert Optima.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So this is a good one. Like the Anthony Rupert Optima, I'm telling you right now, I don't know enough about the product. So I'm going to talk about what I think I know in terms of the theme, the people, and the place. So the theme, it's very much like a heritage brand, multi-generational. The Rupert family have owned it for many, many years. What they're trying to do is honor Anthony Rupert, who sadly passed away in a motor vehicle accident, and Anthony's brother Johan has carried on the legacy. So there's like a real storytelling around like family and legacy. And the Rupert family is a well-known family in South Africa. They are pioneers around the world in luxury goods, so they understand luxury.
Exactly.
So the Anthony Rupert Optima it's a real luxury Bordeaux blend. It's designed to be opulent. It's designed to have heritage. It's sourced from some of the best vineyards in Stellenbosch, Franschhoek. They also have vineyards in Swartland. But it's a collection of different terroirs, as far as I understand. You can correct me.
You're on the right track.
In terms of like some of the storytelling that I know around the winemaking side is interesting to me. Like I did a day of winemaking here with Cabernet Franc, and it was all whole bunch. You could literally see the stalks, and it was a very like traditional rustic style of making Cabernet Franc. And then the same day I went to Anthony Rupert and saw the Cabernet Franc being processed on a sorting table that actually had like a little air compression which
yes.
pushes out anything that doesn't look like a blueberry, basically. Like it needs to be perfect dark fruit. Anything else gets pushed off by air. So you look down into the fermentation tank and it's just dark fruit.
Oh, wow.
And so that is like their dedication towards like purity of fruit, soft tannin. And then I don't know if this is 100% true, but I know that they were doing some of the barrel fermentation and instead of doing punch downs and pump overs, you literally just you turn the barrels, and that gets that soft kind of it gets a very soft sort of tannin structure because you're not punching or
exactly.
or
A lot
pumping.
of the stuff they do has to do with gravity,
Yeah.
just so that they can keep the elegance in the wine.
So that's an example of storytelling where you put me on the spot. I don't know enough about the blend. I don't know anything about it, but I can hopefully share those stories with guests.
No, but the story made sense. It's exactly what
Let me try and zap you. Paul Kluwer Estate Pinot Noir. I want to love it, but I don't want to hear anything about product. I want to hear stories. Tell me. Go. Boom.
So Paul Kluwer is one of my favorites actually in the valley, in the Elgin Valley. That's where Paul Kluwer is based. So that is another family story, or a family-based farm. If I'm not mistaken, Paul Jr. will be the third generation. I mean, he's got kids now, so hopefully they're looking at the fourth generation. But what is interesting about the farm, that it started off with a matriarch, his great-grandmother, who came to the area, and Elgin is known for having quite a bit of water. So they came to this farm that was waterlogged and just had fruit in it. And, she was quite determined that she was going to make something out of it. And perhaps I'm wrong there. Was it his father or was it her who started planting vines?
I'm not 100%. I know the Kluvers were the first to plant vineyard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think initially they planted the vineyards to actually sell to Niederberg, which was based in Stellenbosch. And Niederberg was looking for cooler climate wines, which at this point wasn't very well known anyway in the country, that you could get proper, elegant, cool climate vines. So then what they do currently at the moment on the farm, even though they still do grow pears and apples, if I'm not mistaken, they've decided to hone in and focus on what the terroir does well for them. So their primary plantings on the farm, you've got your Pinot Noir and your Chardonnay. They do dabble in the Riesling, but it's lovely, but you can't find it that easily.
Sorry, we sold out. Yeah.
They even dabbled in a little bit of Gewürztraminer at some point, but mainly focus on Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, which is what they do best with what the terroir actually gives them. And so they have three different tiers, which also speak about what the land gives them back. We've got the village range, which is just supposed to tell the whole story of the farm. And then you've got your estate wines that are a little bit more specific, sort of vineyard specific. And they want to tell that story of that vineyard. And they have another, with, I guess would call it a premium range, which hones in even more than the
Seven Flags
estate wines.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The infamous Seven Flags, or do you say famous? Infamous. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So, that's Paul Kluwer for me. But what's also quite funny with Paul Kluwer, when we say family, they really took it another step further. You have the winemaker who married one of the sisters, and so
then Liesel's again a sister in marketing, and another sister is in the vineyards.
Exactly.
And then Paul's obviously in charge, but his dad's still very involved.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
I believe he was a doctor. He is a doctor.
Yeah.
Or was a doctor.
Yeah. Paul Senior, Dr. Kluwer.
So a little bit of a mix in there. I guess he's science coming in from that side into the winemaking.
Brilliant.
But definitely a farm I really enjoy going to.
Yeah, and you can talk all day about the people. They also have a huge commitment to conservation. So if you with guests that are in a conservation area, brilliant.
Yeah.
If you're with guests that have done a visit to a staff village or had a community experience, the Kluvers have, I think it was the great-grandmother that started the first agricultural college for women. So there's all these stories to share with guests, and we haven't even got into red fruit, tannin,
Exactly.
Pinot Noir. We've told the story behind the wines. Beautiful.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay, so that's probably, how long is that, Janet?
10-15 minutes.
10 minutes. You do that once a week as a team, and you've built incredible storytelling. So, yeah, we're going to be diving more into Game of Wines.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we'll do next is we'll probably go one of us versus Fundi and see see who wins.
AI.
Shot, guys. That's cool.
Cool. Thank you.